In the summer of 2025, an unusual rumor began to spread on social media, stirring a mixture of fear, curiosity, and outrage across the Islamic world. The rumor claimed that a group of foreign skydivers was secretly planning something unimaginable, something so disrespectful, so forbidden, that even the idea of it sent chills down the spines of believers. No names were disclosed, no concrete evidence shared, but the whispers grew louder. They're targeting the Kaaba. In a high-level meeting between American extreme sports enthusiasts and Saudi officials, the skydivers proposed a bold stunt, a symbolic dive above the holy city of Mecca. Outwardly, it was promoted as a gesture of global unity and peace. But deep beneath the surface, the intentions were not as innocent. These were not just athletes. Hidden among them were individuals who sought to mock, belittle, and challenge the sanctity of Islam's holiest site. The Saudi authorities initially hesitated. The proposal was rejected outright. However, under immense diplomatic pressure and layers of deceptive reassurances, limited approval was granted, strictly on the condition that they stay far from the Kaaba, respecting its sacred boundaries. The divers were warned in no uncertain terms that the Haram and the Kaaba were off limits. The day arrived. Helicopters hovered at the edge of Mecca's skies. Cameras were in position. The world held its breath. Among the skydivers, 5 individuals suited up, each carrying a parachute and wingsuit, their jumpsuits bearing subtle but mocking messages in patterns and colors. They took off from a military-controlled aircraft under the gaze of Saudi military supervision. As the skydivers descended, they began steering closer and closer to the Haram. Something was wrong. The trajectory they were following didn't align with their approved flight path. The crowd below was unaware. People continued their tawaf around the Kaaba. But in the control room, alarms began to blare. Surveillance confirmed the worst. They were heading toward the Kaaba itself. Saudi security forces tried issuing emergency warnings, but the skydivers had disabled communication. Their plan was in motion. They were about to commit an act of grave disrespect. At precisely 2:37 p.m., one of the divers made a direct descent toward the rooftop of the Kaaba. As his boots touched the sacred structure, a terrifying crack of thunder echoed across a cloudless sky. Within seconds, a violent gust of wind erupted, ripping through the air. One parachute exploded midair, flinging its user across the Haram. Another diver spiraled out of control, crashing onto the marble floor, lifeless. In total, 3 of the divers died on the spot. The other 2 were severely injured. Pilgrims fled in terror. Silence fell. Then cries echoed through the courtyard as people realized what had happened. News spread like wildfire. Skydivers tried to land on the Kaaba. They defied the sanctity of Allah's house. Divine wrath struck them instantly. Videos surfaced online, showing the exact moment a diver vanished midair, as if struck by an invisible force. One viral clip showed a bolt of light descending from the sky just before the crash. Islamic scholars reminded the Ummah of a historical lesson, the story of Abraha, the Yemeni king who marched with an army of elephants to destroy the Kaaba. Just as he neared Mecca, Allah sent flocks of ababil, tiny birds carrying stones of baked clay. They rained down upon the army, turning soldiers and elephants alike into lifeless husks. Abraha's pride was shattered, his ambition crushed. The Kaaba stood unharmed. This modern attempt echoed that ancient arrogance, and Allah's response was just as swift. The Saudi king addressed the nation that night. With trembling voice and teary eyes, he declared, "The house of Allah is not guarded by humans alone. Its sanctity is protected by the one who built it." This was not just an act of defiance. It was war against purity, and Allah responded. Following the incident, new laws were passed. No aerial activity is now permitted within 50 kilometers of the Haram. Those responsible for approving the flight were arrested. The American government issued an apology, but it was too late. The world had seen what happens when arrogance meets divine protection. Major news outlets across continents reported the incident. Debates raged. Some called it an act of spiritual terrorism. Others wept, overwhelmed by the realization of Allah's power. Weeks later, a group of scholars from al-Azhar University issued a statement. The sanctity of the Kaaba is a red line. Any attempt to defile it will be met with divine consequences. What happened on that day was a miracle witnessed by thousands. Months later, a man in a remote village shared a dream. In it, he saw the Kaaba glowing brighter than the sun, surrounded by angels, and above it was a verse written in golden light. And whoever intends therein a deviation in religion or wrongdoing, we will make him taste a painful punishment. Surah Al-Hajj 22:25. Indeed, Allah had shown that His word is eternal. In the weeks that followed, several prominent non-Muslim journalists visited Makkah to understand the spiritual weight of the incident. Though they couldn't enter the Haram, they interviewed hundreds of locals and scholars. One reporter from Brazil confessed, "I came as a skeptic, but the way people's eyes shine when they talk about the Kaaba, it's something divine. You can't fake that." The families of the skydivers were struck with grief and confusion. One of the mothers reportedly collapsed after watching the video of her son's fall. She later said he was misled. He had no idea what he was doing. I now understand why Muslims protect this place with such devotion. Religious leaders across the Muslim world used this moment to deliver sermons about respecting the sacred. Friday sermons echoed with the warning that not every place on earth is equal. Some are blessed, some are protected. The Kaaba is not just a direction for prayer. It is a symbol of unity, submission, and divine connection. In Indonesia, a young boy named Yusuf reportedly saw a vision after the event. He told his parents he dreamt of an immense army of light descending from the heavens to surround the Kaaba. When asked what they said, he replied, "They were guarding the house of Allah." This story stands as a reminder. The Kaaba is not just a building of stone and cloth. It is the heartbeat of the Muslim world. And whoever dares to challenge it, challenges the very power of the Almighty. Let the story of the skydivers be a lesson for the arrogant and a reminder for the faithful. The attempted desecration of the Kaaba by a group of foreign skydivers was far more than an act of thrill-seeking or defiance. It was a direct challenge to the sanctity of one of the holiest sites in Islam. But what unfolded next was a powerful reminder to the entire world. The Kaaba is not protected by walls or human guards alone. It is protected by Allah Himself. The divine response was swift, undeniable, and terrifying. In a matter of seconds, nature itself turned against the offenders. Their parachutes failed. Winds howled through a clear sky. Their mission ended in tragedy, not fame. And the world watched in awe and fear as the power of the Almighty manifested before thousands of witnesses. This incident echoed the ancient story of Abraha, the king who tried to destroy the Kaaba with an army of elephants, only to be stopped by flocks of ababil sent by Allah. Just as then, today's attempt to disrespect the house of Allah ended in failure and destruction. History repeated itself not by coincidence but by divine will. From the heartfelt speeches of the Saudi king to the dreams of innocent children, from viral videos to sermons in mosques around the world, one message stood clear. The Kaaba is not just a symbol. It is a sacred trust, divinely protected. Let the fate of these skydivers be a lesson to all who harbor arrogance in their hearts, and a reminder to the faithful that Allah's promises are true. The sanctity of the Kaaba is eternal, and whoever dares to violate it will face consequences beyond imagination. Astaghfirullah, may we never witness such an incident again. May the sanctity of Allah's house remain preserved until the end of time. O Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, the creator of all that exists, we turn to you with hearts full of faith and eyes full of hope. Ya Allah, we ask you by your beautiful names and perfect attributes. Protect the holy Kaaba, the sacred house built by your prophets Ibrahim and Ismail. Peace be upon them. Let no harm come to it, and let its sanctity be preserved until the day of judgment. Make the hearts of the believers always turn toward it in love, humility, and devotion. Let it remain the center of unity for all Muslims, a light for the righteous, and a place of peace for the Ummah. O Allah, grant strength and success to the Muslim Ummah. Ameen.